As we approach World Water Day and the 2023 UN World Water Conference beginning tomorrow, advocates are highlighting the issue of access to clean water in Canada. Over 138 long term drinking water advisories have been lifted in communities across the country since November 2015. However, 32 long term drinking water advisories still remain in effect in 28 First Nations communities in Canada. This will be a key topic for the Assembly of First Nations Regional Chief for Manitoba when she attends the water conference tomorrow. Cindy Woodhouse says she'll be continuing to push Canada to close the water infrastructure gap by 2030. Meanwhile, in some other countries around the world, clean water is a scarce necessity. According to the Canadian charity Ryan's Well Foundation, about 785 million people lack access to clean water. Well, joining us now to give us more insight into the issue of access to clean water in Canada and around the world is Ryan Hreljac, founder and executive director of Ryan's Well Foundation. Mr. Hreljac, welcome to Forum Daily.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk about these drinking water advisories in Canada. What exactly does this look like for First Nations communities in our country?
Well, all around the world, people say clean water is a human right, and without it, you can't do a heck of a lot. And these boiled water advisories bog down communities here at home and abroad, just basic livelihoods in terms of living day to day, not knowing if you're going to get sick, not being able to work, not being able to go to school. It means the world. And until you don't have access to clean water, it's hard to appreciate how much it means.
And what do we know so far about how this lack of access to clean drinking water has impacted the overall health of those living on such reserves in Canada?
It goes from the small things to the big things, like I mentioned, in terms of the small things, in terms of that lead into the bigger things. And when we do our work in internationally speaking, something as simple as diarrhea can become life-threatening if it's not taken care of properly. And then when you're here and you're not certain that your water you're drinking is safe, it means the world then until you don't have access to it. Mhm.
Now, the issue of clean drinking water has been an ongoing issue on First Nations in Canada, but we did mention progress has been made since 2015.
Mm.
138 advisories have been lifted. So, what do these communities look like now in terms of access to clean drinking water?
Well, the numbers are sure are promising, and when you look at, I think the great scheme of things, there used to be this idea in place that if you threw enough money at the problem, that it would fix itself. But there's been a different style of working in the developing world, as well as the approach taken with the Indigenous communities here, where it's a more collaborative approach, finding solutions that are more sustainable, that work better for communities, and it ends up increasing everything. Where that's a situation in place where the boiled water advisory doesn't go back into place, that it creates better livelihoods for everyone involved, and it's done. The numbers speak for themselves. They've done a better job of keeping those in place.
And speaking of the numbers,
Mhm.
28 communities are still under drinking water advisories. So, where does Ryan's Well Foundation stand when it comes to Canada's water infrastructure gap?
I think the big word is advocacy. Until there was a big spotlight shined on this issue, it was in the back burner. It wasn't talked about. It was, something that was definitely a source of shame, but that was not addressed. I think by putting these things in the front of public discourse, we can really get more attention on it and then get to better creative solutions on how to actually solve it. So that's kudos to the Canadian public, to everyone who was involved in participating to find these solutions. They didn't happen magically, and they're only not happened all at once because we're trying to find the best solutions possible to put in place so that they don't pop back up.
All right, just about a minute left here, but we know Ryan's Well Foundation is known for its work in other countries, supporting about 17 countries, according to your website. So, can you tell us a little bit more about access to clean drinking water in these countries?
Yeah, around the world, still 780 million people don't have access, and it becomes more and more desperate depending on where you are, where people's livelihoods are affected detrimentally, and they can't go to school, can't work, can't function. And women, seniors, and kids especially are at a high risk of not living normal lives because of it. So we do our best work to fundraise every year to do as much work as we can to provide sustainable, safe, clean water to people who need it most all around the world. And hopefully, in the coming years, we'll continue to do more.
Definitely. Just about 30 seconds left here, but what are you watching for during the UN World Water Conference, which begins tomorrow?
I'm really interested in new solutions involving communities and controlling their own destiny. We're going to hear a lot about water being a right, but I always like to look at it as water being also responsibility. We need to make sure that the systems that we're putting in place can be taken care of by the local communities that we provide them for, and that it's a collaborative approach because we need to make sure water is a right and it's a responsibility as well.
All right, Ryan Hreljac from Ryan's Well Foundation, thank you again for your time today.